They said our little farm stand didn't belong in a neighborhood like Maple Grove. Too rustic, too unsightly, too non-compliant with HOA standards. My mom just smiled, wiping her hands on her apron the way she always did, the smell of strawberries and cinnamon sugar clinging to her palms. Then they've never tasted home, she said. None of us realized those would be fighting words. Every Saturday morning since I could remember, the air outside our house smelled like fresh pies and jam. Our farm stand sat right by the roadside, hand-painted with the words Lane Family Produce. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours, the same counter my grandfather built out of old barnwood 50 years ago. People came from miles away for our honey and preserves. Kids ran barefoot through grass, chasing the chickens while their parents swapped stories over mason jars of lemonade. It wasn't just a business. It was a heartbeat. When the first HOA letter arrived, it was folded too neatly to be anything but trouble. My mom opened it at the kitchen table. I remember her face tightening as she read. Unauthorized commercial activity, it said. Violation of aesthetic standards. A fine of $500. She laughed softly at first, thought it was a mistake. But when the second letter came, stamped with bold red ink and signed by the HOA president herself, I could see it in her eyes. This wasn't about rules. It was personal. 2 weeks later, they showed up, 3 of them in matching polos, clipboard in hand, walking up our driveway like they owned it. Mom wiped her hands and went out to meet them, her posture calm but firm. Mrs. Lane, the president began, your little stand is in clear violation of HOA policies. My little stand? Mom said, eyebrows raised. It's my family's livelihood. The woman gave a tight smile. It's an eyesore. It lowers the neighborhood's property value. I remember gripping the edge of the porch, anger bubbling in my chest. You mean it doesn't look like your yard? Mom said quietly. This is a farm, not a showroom. You have 30 days to remove it, the woman said, turning on her heel. Or we'll fine you again. The next morning, Mom taped that letter to the inside of the stand, right next to the jar of honey she'd made that week. Let them see it, she said. Let them see who they're fighting. The following days felt heavier. The regulars came, pretending not to notice the folded paper flapping in the wind, but everyone knew. Some whispered encouragement. Some avoided eye contact. By the end of the week, the HOA sent another letter, this time with a threat of legal action. They called it non-compliance with community regulations. We called it what was bullying. The fines grew. The warnings stacked up. Then came the day they taped a cease and desist notice right on the counter of our stand, in front of the customers. My mom's hand shook as she peeled it off. I'm not letting them take this from us, she said through gritted teeth. That night, I caught her cry in the kitchen. The bills were piling up. The farm wasn't making enough to cover both the fines and the mortgage. She tried to hide her tears, wiping her eyes and whispering, "We'll be fine." But I knew she didn't believe it. One evening, our neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, came by with a basket of apples. Heard what they're doing, he said, shaking his head. They're out of their minds. You need help, you call me. The next morning, a photo appeared online, our little farm stand with the HOA notice taped to it. The caption read, they're trying to shut down the Lane family's farm stand for looking too homemade. Let's show them what community really means. By afternoon, the post had thousands of shares. Strangers commented from other towns, offering to drive in and buy from us. The next Saturday, the dirt road leading to our farm was jammed with cars and pickup trucks. People brought signs that read, support local farmers and hands off our jam. It was like a festival. Children ran through the yard again. Laughter echoed where fear used to live. When the HOA officials showed up, clipboard in hand, their faces turned pale. What is this? The president demanded. Mom wiped her hands and smiled. A community, she said simply. Something you wouldn't understand. The officials tried to take pictures, tried to talk over the noise, but the people wouldn't let them. Someone started chanting, let them sell, and within seconds the whole crowd joined in. Even the sheriff, who had come to keep order, was buying a jar of honey. Karen, That was the HOA president's name, stood frozen, realizing the entire town had turned against her. "You can't defy regulations," she shouted over the crowd. "This isn't legal." Mr. Jenkins stepped forward. "Neither is harassing good people for selling jam, ma'am." The sheriff nodded. "You've overstepped, Karen. This is a private property issue. You don't have jurisdiction here." Her clipboard slipped slightly in her hands. "You will regret this," she hissed at Mom before storming off. But she never came back. The HOA went silent. A month later, we received a letter saying all fines had been rescinded, pending review. The community had flooded their office with complaints. Local news had run a segment titled "Farm Stand versus HOA, Small Town Wins Big." Donations poured in. A local carpenter offered to rebuild our stand, bigger and stronger. When the new one went up, we painted the words "Lane Family Produce" again, but this time we added another line underneath. "Built by the people for the people." Mom cried when she saw it. The road stayed busy for weeks. Some came just to shake her hand. Others came to drop a few dollars into a jar labeled for the fines that never were. Even long after the headlines faded, the customers stayed. It wasn't just about jam or honey anymore. It was about defiance, kindness, and standing up for what's right. Late one evening, as the sun turned the fields gold, I watched Mom rest her hands on the counter, smiling at the sight of the crowd. "They tried to shut us down," she whispered, "but look at us now." The lights of the farm stand glowed warm against the dusk. For the first time in months, there was peace in her eyes. "You think they'll ever try again?" I asked. She smiled faintly. "Maybe," she said, "but now they know it's not just us they'll be fighting." The wind carried the smell of fresh pie through the air, mingling with the sound of laughter. For a moment, everything felt right again. And I realized it wasn't just a stand. It was a promise.